Did he was?
I don't know what this is. So he's on the side of the cliff. It was a bit because it is an undulating course.
And he was about a foot from the hole as a result of this shot.
Right.
It was amazing.
Brilliant. Wonderful. OK.
Well, shot of the entire thing, and you missed it.
Well, there were lots of those.
No.
Lots of those. OK. All right, Simon.
Now, UK companies are currently grappling with a nationwide labour shortage triggered by Brexit and the pandemic. The Road Haulage Association says there are an estimated 100,000 vacancies across the HGV sector. The worsening drivers' shortage has been hammering supply chains across industries, with fuel supplies taking a big hit, and that, of course, has set off panic buying across the country. It's estimated that up to 85% of UK petrol stations ran out of fuel over the weekend. Well, these shortages have culminated in disruptions to bus networks and other services.
Well, GBNews Yorkshire and Humber reporter Kevin Larkin's in Rotherham for us. He's got more on this story. Good morning, Kevin. So what have you seen at petrol stations in Yorkshire in the last few days?
Well, yes, Kirsty. I mean, the panic buying, or whatever we're calling it at the moment, seems to have taken a bit longer to reach Yorkshire. Whether that's because we're more sensible or not, I don't know, but I can say it is definitely starting to bite. There's another garage down the road here, and on Saturday afternoon, one row of their pumps were out. And when I checked last night, I went for a walk down there, they were completely out. This one behind me was starting to see queues this morning when I got here at about 5:15. Now, what they've said to me is they have a tiny amount, their words, tiny amount of unleaded and Supreme diesel that they are also very much expecting to run out today. And I spoke to one driver earlier on, and he told me he'd actually been to 4 petrol stations this morning trying to find fuel. So it's becoming increasingly difficult, and that's having a knock-on effect in terms of the reliability of bus services. First South Yorkshire actually put out a tweet over the weekend saying that due to the queues of people trying to get into petrol stations around South Yorkshire, that actually it was having a knock-on effect, causing traffic jams and making the buses more unreliable as well. So we're seeing a really big problem in Sheffield because of that as well.
And what have the companies, the bus companies, said to you about this? What is the knock-on?
Well, yes, so they are saying, Simon, that, as you mentioned, it's the driver shortage that's the issue here. And, of course, similar to the fuel problem, it isn't that there isn't any fuel, it's just that they haven't got the drivers to take it out. And similarly, that's having a similar effect on the bus sector. We've seen that 33 services in Doncaster alone have had to be cancelled every day because of the issues with the bus services. Stagecoach Yorkshire has had to have 48 services cancelled over the weekend due to staff shortages. We're hearing in West Yorkshire and York what they're doing is, rather than cancelling services, they're having a longer delay in between them, so the reliability of services is affected. And this all means a lot of disruption for passengers. And of course, outside of London, it's far more common for people to commute to work by bus rather than train. And the problem is a lot of people would point to electric buses, hydrogen buses. Well, South Yorkshire is one of the places in the country where they are still very, very heavily reliant on these diesel buses. So, of course, it's having a knock-on effect. And in terms of the bus companies' responses, I've been asking them what they think about this, and if I can I've contacted them, and First West Yorkshire has blamed this nationwide lack of drivers. They're saying that's placing pressure on services, and they've led to some temporary changes in high-frequency routes in Leeds and Bradford, and all other First West Yorkshire services are unchanged, and they're working to minimise disruption, and they thank customers for their patience. Interestingly, they say it's a short-term staffing situation, so hopefully they believe this will get sorted fairly quickly. Across the industry, I've spoken to the Confederation of Passenger Transport, which is the voice of the bus and coach industry, and they say tens of thousands of bus routes across the UK are running on schedule. They describe this as, again, localised issues, with a number of issues not helped by things like self-isolation, interestingly, is something they've referred to. They're saying they're not seeing a shortage of people wanting to be bus drivers. That's not the problem here. It's because they've had a greater number of people leaving the industry. Obviously, there have been references to Brexit. The bus companies here have said that EU nationals going home after Brexit has had an impact, as well as the post-pandemic, people looking at their lives and re-evaluating what they want to do for their jobs and lifestyles and so on. But another factor that seems to be very relevant to the HGV bus driver situation here is a backlog at the DVLA and DVSA for new entrants. So these people who want to join the industry have had problems getting hold of provisional licences and test slots to enable them to be qualified to do that. But the CPT says it's confident that these, again, are short-term problems, and they're saying that the DVLA is now processing new provisional licences as a priority, and that will get the training started, and that will enable things to improve. And they say many members of bus companies are already seeing a much improved position.
And Kevin, I believe the government have had something to say about this, have they?
Yes, the government are saying they're pointing to £2 billion, Kirsty, for funding that they've given to bus companies during the pandemic. They've also pointed to the £226 million that they've given bus companies to recover from the pandemic, which started going to bus companies from the first of the month. And they say they also have this national bus strategy. That's £3 billion going up to 2024. And directly in a statement, the Department for Transport have told us that throughout the pandemic, the DfT has worked closely with operators and authorities to understand and mitigate the impact of workforce issues.
Just looking at the prices behind you, they're high, aren't they, up there?
They are high for Yorkshire as well, Simon. They're normally a bit cheaper, but I have to say, as filling up in the last few days, I've seen the prices shooting up. Again, like we say, this isn't down to a shortage of the fuel, it's just getting the fuel delivered. So hopefully, however this is solved, it looks like it should be hopefully get solved very soon if we can get the fuel actually delivered. Maybe those prices will start coming down, hopefully.